Welcome back, guys. As always, Hot Mess Espresso is proudly sponsored by 502 Media. Um, we're getting a little down and dirty today. We have Danielle Epstein on the pod today, who is the founder of the Intimate Instinct. Danielle, hello.
Hi, guys. Down and dirty are two of my favorite words.
Same.
Happy to be here.
I feel like my listeners are going to learn a thing or two about me that they did not need to know. So if you are my
Cool.
parents, if you are my parents listening to this might be the one to skip, and I won't hold it against you.
Yeah, if you're my parents, no, you're not. You just
Right.
don't know me.
If you are my brothers, no, you're not. If you're my sister, you already know everything. I don't care.
Exactly.
So, Intimate Instinct. I love it. It's catchy. It's cute. Talk me through how you even got to founding this just incredible platform.
Yeah. So the Intimate Instinct was sort of born out of my own healing journey from a really abusive relationship. And actually, I'm gonna make that plural. Abusive relationship, like it was two bad relationships. I was not in a good relationship with myself, and I was also not in a good relationship with my partner. And coming out of both of those things at the same time is sort of what gave way to the Intimate Instinct. I'll paint the picture for you. I've always been a super high achieving person. I worked hard in school. I graduated. I went straight to Silicon Valley where I started working at Google, then at Cisco, then at Facebook. I had all these incredible jobs. My career trajectory was taking off. My finances were taking off. Like things were excellent on paper. I had a house in the Bay Area by the time I was 24. Like life literally couldn't be better on paper, but I was absolutely miserable. And I was dating a guy who I've known my entire life. So we like grew up together and we had been dating for about 6 years by the time I found him cheating on me. And it wasn't just like a one night thing. He had like an entire second girlfriend, emotional attachment and everything, which was honestly worse than the physical cheating.
Yes.
And he did it like right in front of me too, which was like the weirdest thing. He gaslit the shit out of me. Like
Oh
he
my
would literally be
God.
texting her next to me and I would be like, "Who's that?" And he's like, "Oh, it's no one." So anyway, so found out he was cheating, and that sort of turned my world upside down and made me really start to reevaluate things. Like why I'm a very self-reflective, introspective person. So like, how did we get here? Why is he cheating on me? We've known each other our whole lives. How could he do that? Was I responsible for this? Was he responsible for it? Who's at fault? Like it
Right.
arose so many questions about all of this. And again, I'm like still working at Facebook, trying to make it all make sense. And at the same time, he actually never managed to have a job the entire time we were dating. He was a student. He failed out of college once, then he failed out of college twice. And the only reason he managed to graduate the third time around is because I babied him through it. After he cheated on me, we stayed together for another 2.5 years because I did not have enough self-respect to walk away from it. And I thought I could fix him. We could fix our problems, get back to where we were. Everything would be great. I wasn't able to relinquish this, like, we're meant to be together because we've known each other our whole lives sort of story. 2.5 years go by. Things are still obviously not recovered. So I finally decide it's time to blow my life apart. I left my job. I sold my house. I rehomed my dog, who I could no longer take care of on my own. I left the boy. I moved away to Colorado. And I'm in Colorado for about a week. Like, I've never lived in Colorado before. I knew no one. I met a random person. And he's like, "Why are you here?" Tell him my story. And he goes, "Facebook made you masculine. And that's why your ex cheated on you." Those are his exact words. And they like still ring in my ears. I know that was my face at the beginning too. But let me, like, it triggered me too. But let me make sense of it. I know.
I couldn't even fix my face on that one.
I know.
What?
I know. That was my face too. Facebook made you masculine. That's why your ex cheated on you. I was like, what the fuck? Sorry, are we allowed to curse? What the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, that makes no sense to me. How dare you say that, right? Like, it really triggered me at first. I asked him to explain, and I'm really glad he did. He basically said, look, this guy is 3 years older than you, never managed to graduate. You are not only the female in the relationship, but you're 3 years younger, and you're not just working anywhere, you're working at one of the best companies in the world, making an extremely healthy salary. In order to succeed at a place like Facebook, you have to be really outspoken, really confident, really driven, really analytical, and you're doing well at Facebook. Like, your career's taking off there. So you're showing up at Facebook every day with that sort of energy, analytical, outspoken, this and that.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're coming home at the end of the day, not turning off that energy, bringing that management type of energy into the home. Then you combine it with the fact that he's studying and is not working, it is not earning. His self-confidence and self-image is just kind of going down because he's probably subconsciously comparing himself to you. And he also was sort of acting like a child. So you came home and you were like giving him, that energy of like, why haven't you done your homework? Why haven't you done this? Why haven't you done that? Where can we do this? Like you were trying to manage him the way you were your work at Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
And the more I did that, the more my ex sort of responded by like retreating and retreating some more and retreating some more, all the way up until he found some other person to go to who made him feel like a man again, who made him feel that sense of masculine energy again. And so as he explained it, I was like, actually, you know what? That sort of makes sense. And he basically said it's not a justification for what happened, but it's an explanation for what happened. And I'm like, okay, I get that. I can live with that, right? So then what was really interesting is I started paying attention to this in all the other relationships in my life, or all of the other, again, I'm a very like reflective,
Right.
people watching is one of my favorite hobbies ever. So I just started paying attention to it everywhere. When I'd sit in a park and I'd see two people in front of me, I'd observe masculine and feminine energy, and I'm observing gender roles, and I'm observing like what's happening, relationship dynamics between the two people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm seeing it in my parents. I'm seeing it in my friends. I'm seeing it in my characters on my TV shows. I'm seeing it everywhere. And I became absolutely obsessed with studying this in order to sort of make sense of things. And so here I am trying to heal from this breakup, like really trying to move on, turning towards education and learning in order to like make a lot of sense of this and learn how to not repeat things in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And I did all of that by myself. And like a year goes by, I finally meet a new person, somebody who I'm still with 3 years later. And like we have one of the best relationships I could ever ask for. So my healing process, all of this education worked. I just hated that I had to do it by myself and didn't have great resources and had so many questions and nobody to turn to. And so that's where the Intimate Instinct was born. I create a space for like-minded women to get together. These are women who are either just focusing on bettering themselves or focusing on becoming more dateable and like figuring out how to navigate the dating world a little bit better. They're women who are in relationships who want to learn how to prevent those relationships from going sour the way that mine did.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they are women who just want to meet other like-minded women and build community in that sense. And we talk about the psychology and the physiology behind sex, intimacy, and relationships. So we talk a lot about masculine and feminine energy. We talk a lot about our hormones. We talk a lot about historical and cultural things that have influenced our gender roles and expectations. It's a really unique space where we talk and ask questions and learn and support each other. And yeah, that's what I do.
I absolutely love it. And like to kind of circle back to what you were saying, I literally did that like in my marriage. Like my ex-husband was the breadwinner for sure, but I wound up being like, for lack of a better term, the momager.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Like
like mother, not lover. I think
yeah,
9 women out of 10 will at some point be able to relate to that feeling. And that's
yeah,
not to say that it's all our fault that we become the mother. Like it takes two to tango, right?
yeah.
They have
No,
to
he was
be,
totally fine with me managing everything. Like I all but told him when to go take a shit.
yeah,
He could do that all on his own
yeah.
for like an hour.
And
But
he loved being managed by me. He loved the perks
yeah,
that came with me. He was
literally.
happy to take advantage of my money. He was happy to take advantage of my status and use me as his arm candy for things. Like he was more than happy to take advantage of the benefits that came along with having me serve that role, yet wasn't happy to play his part in growing in order to take me out of that role. Like that's where I say it became abusive. There was emotional abuse, there was financial abuse. He was more than happy just kind of coasting on my ride
Mhm.
and then cheating on me in return. Like I should have realized at the time, like, no, fuck that.
Yeah. Well, you don't realize it until you're out and you can kind of like
Hmm.
see things very clearly and then you're like, that was fucked up.
Exactly.
Yeah, because it's so hard because like I have such a drive, so I'm definitely like very much in my masculine energy when it comes to things,
Mhm.
especially like with the pot. You almost have to be. You can't be like, okay, people come to me. Like, no, you got to go to them. You got to be like, I don't want to say aggressive, but you got to be assertive. You got to push
But
those
that's the
limits.
thing I love about this stuff is like you
Yes.
can do that in a masculine way or you can do it in a feminine way. Just about every single thing you do or you say can be done in a masculine or a feminine way. So, femininity, that's one of the biggest myths around it, in my opinion. Femininity is not about suppressing yourself, it's not
Hmm.
about making yourself smaller, it's not about being the damsel in distress where you're shy and you can't, like, people have to come to you. Like, no, that's not true at all. There's so many myths and misconceptions around masculinity and femininity. It's all about how you do it. If you reach out to somebody, to be a guest on your podcast, and you're saying, hey, I saw you do this and this, I want to schedule you on this day, let's meet and talk here, here's my calendar link, like, that's going to be a more of a masculine way of doing it.
Hmm.
If instead you reach out and you say, hey, I love your content, I'd love to get to know you a little bit better and see where things go from there, that's a more feminine way of doing it, right? So there's a masculine or a feminine way of approaching just about any interaction. And what I love to teach the women in my group is the method you choose directly determines what happens next, and then next, and then next. It's a snowball effect. How
Right.
you choose to handle an interaction will directly impact how they will respond, and then how you're going to respond back to them, and so on and so forth.
So, when you're getting into the psychological, physiological, hormonal differences, I mean, you're speaking my language. I think we're finally like talking about all of the things that actually go into sex. It's not just like being
Mhm.
attracted to somebody
Oh,
at
totally.
all. Like, I've had that. I literally can be going through the exact same shit that I was going through in my now, former marriage, but with my ex, whatever that was for 6 months, I wanted to climb like a fucking tree because like there was just less outside influences and like
Yeah.
he was handling things more. I could like sit back and like
Yeah.
enjoy things. So when it comes to outside influences and hormonal differences, how do you kind of explain all of that with the women in your group?
Yeah. Really great question. So, when I was first started studying masculine and feminine energy, the thing about it that most drove me nuts is everybody talks about it in this very like spiritual, abstract, fruity kind of way,
Right.
and often religious and like very conflated with gender roles and gender expectations. And
Former church kid here.
yeah, I
So
fucking hated that. Like,
it's like new.
exactly. Like, don't you dare tell me femininity is about being stuck in the kitchen. Like, no, that's not at all what
No.
it means. So I desperately started searching for like any sort of scientific explanation behind it. I come from a family of scientists and mathematicians, so I'm like, I want the facts behind it.
Mhm.
There are so many parallels between hormones and masculine and feminine energy. So it's my opinion that rather than associating femininity with being a woman and masculinity with being a male, instead you should associate femininity with predominantly female hormones, estrogen, progesterone, hormones that women make more of.
Mhm.
And masculinity is associated with predominantly male hormones, testosterone, vasopressin, hormones that men typically make more of. But this is the thing, like, men and women have all hormones. Men and women, we all have masculine and feminine energy.
Mhm.
So women just tend to have more feminine energy, less masculine energy. We have more estrogen, less testosterone. Men tend to have more masculine energy. They have more testosterone, less estrogen. If you start looking at some of the trends of like estrogen driven behavior, what estrogen makes your mind and your body do, you see a lot of parallels with femininity. Same thing for testosterone, for vasopressin, for all of these hormones. So I can't prove it, obviously, but I have a lot of studies that kind of paint the parallels between hormones and energy. Now, hormones, there's so much to talk about when you start talking about your hormones. What's really interesting is how sensitive hormones are to everything going on in your environment, in your own body inside of you, but also in the world around you. So many things impact your hormones, from the way you sleep, your relationships, how much you socialize, your diet and nutrition, your fitness and exercise, the toxins you're exposed to. So if all of these things are influencing your hormones, and if your hormones are correlated with your energy, then all of a sudden, in order to get at the root cause of these things, you've got to be addressing all of these environmental things around you. So that's sort of what I start to break down with these women. So that's why we talk a lot about nutrition. We talk a lot about historical and cultural influences that have shaped our gender roles and expectations.
Mhm.
Because, while I don't think that feminine energy equals being a woman, there's obviously some overlap there. So we
Right.
start to tease apart, like, well, what's an expectation of being a woman versus what's a tendency of feminine energy? And so we start to do a lot of that analysis and a lot of that critical thinking and develop our own opinions around all of this. Like, that is also when I started studying all of this, one of the things that drove me crazy is that everyone who was talking about it had like, this is what feminine energy is. This is what masculine energy is. No, there's no right, there's no wrong. It's very personal and very subjective. So developing what you believe it to be, what parts of it you want to take and what parts of it you want to leave at the door.
That makes sense. What were some of the biggest surprises that you found when you started talking to these women in your group that you were just like, "Oh, I never thought of that," or it just came off as like a surprise?
Um, I think one of the things that was most surprising is just how all around us it is, yet
Mhm.
we don't see it. We totally take it for granted. If you think about it, like just about everything we've learned about relationships and about how to connect with other people, no one ever taught us, no one ever sat us down to teach it to us.
Nope.
We learned it through experience, we learned it through observation, we learned it as we go, but no one's ever sat us down and said, what's the difference between anger and resentment? What's the difference between anger and frustration? What's the difference between how a male brain is going to respond to this situation versus a female brain because our hormones are different? So if we actually sat down and like explicitly talked about some of this stuff, all of a sudden things become so much more clear. And so I think that's one of the things that amazes me most is like it's all around us and yet no one's talking about it.
I think because it's still just very like taboo to talk. Because like at the end of the day, you're talking about sex.
Ultimately, so,
It's
like,
like there's
everybody sort of asks me, like, "Well, why do you mention sexuality as part of your, like, mission?" And my opinion is because the quality of my sex life directly tells you the quality of everything else in my life. If
Mhm.
my life is going well, my sex is great. If my sex is great, generally, my life is going pretty well. So to me, it's an indicator of my
Yeah.
overall mental health and stability. Your sex is your most vulnerable, inner, private part of you. And so if that's going well, typically everything else is. And so I sort of use it as like a barometer for things.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I people don't like talking about it because it's still kinda like taboo because cultural, religious, whatever. But sex is such an important part of a relationship. It's almost like another extension of communication.
Forget even relationship, it's such an important part of yourself.
That
Being
too.
able to connect with your body and drop into your body, giving your body what you need, it's such an important part of yourself, let alone a relationship. And, there are relationships that aren't centered around sex or that,
Yeah.
don't even involve sex at all, and that's totally fine. So it's not to say that sex is like a required component
Oh,
of a
no.
healthy relationship. But for most people, sex is a pretty big deal. And we are never taught how men and women approach sex differently. And because we're never taught this explicitly, there's so much room for misconceptions and misinformation and lies to be popping up. Like, I can't tell, men do not think about sex 24/7. We as women think, oh, all men just think with their penis all the time. Like they just want to
Yeah.
have sex all the time. Like, no, that's so not true. There are so many lies that we've been fed and we don't question them. We don't approach those things with empathy and with curiosity, which I think is like the biggest problem. Like, men, how do you actually experience it? Like, tell us how it is because
Yeah.
we know what we think we know, but we don't.
Well, let's dive into some of those lies. Some what are or I guess myths. We'll call them myths. What are some of the myths that you're just like, I cannot wait to debunk these because oh my god, they're so not true.
There's so many. Like, do you want myths around masculinity and femininity? Do you want myths around relationships and sex? There's so many.
We'll pick a few. Let's just
Pick a
what
few.
are some of your favorite that you're like, "I'm so sick of hearing this, I might implode."
Masculinity is always toxic. That's a big one.
Yeah.
I like to tell people masculinity and femininity have three different expressions. They can come from a divine place, a wounded place, or a toxic place.
Mm,
Divine means it's authentic to you. It's really it's real, it's natural, it feels good. Wounded energy comes from a place of I've been hurt, so I'm trying to protect myself.
yeah.
And then toxic energy comes from a place of like society has sort of conditioned me to be this way, so I'm just going to do that. Masculinity can be extremely healthy and divine.
Yes.
A lot of masculinity that we see is wounded because men have been hurt a lot too. Like we're
Yeah.
so big on saying women have been hurt and women have been suppressed and women this and women that. Men have been victims of societal stories and narratives too.
1,000%.
And masculinity, for the love of God, is not only toxic. Toxic masculinity is what makes its way into the media and it's what
Mhm.
makes its way like, and we're all just fed this lie that all masculinity is toxic. It is not. Um, Another myth around all of that, we started to talk about it earlier, like femininity does not mean suppressed. It does not mean be a homemaker and stay in the kitchen. It can mean that for certain people, but it doesn't
Yeah.
have to. I absolutely decouple feminine energy from gender and therefore also from gender expectations. It's a way of being, a way of
Mhm.
thinking, a way of expressing yourself. It is not a thing you do. It's not being in the kitchen, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. Um, what else? Masculinity is only for men, femininity is only for women. That one's, we've
That's
sort of
such
talked about
bullshit.
that too. Everybody has both.
Yeah.
If I had gone to my job at Facebook and kicked ass the way I did and learned how to turn that off when I came home and been feminine at home and empowered my partner's masculine energy, I think our relationship would have ended up in a very different place.
Right.
We as women, this is, something I think is really important for people to take away. We as women have a larger gap to fill. When we are inside of the home, we want to be feminine and also we're expected by our partners to be feminine, right? The second we close our doors and we step outside, the world wants us to be masculine,
Yeah.
right? Every job, just about, you're always having to get somewhere, drive somewhere, do something, be on time, get this thing done, accomplish this, pay this. Like the world is masculine, hyper masculine.
1,000%.
So the second you close your door and you step outside, the world is expecting you to be that way. Men, on
Mhm.
the other hand, we want them to be masculine. They want to be masculine inside the home. The world is masculine outside the home. So that's not to say that men don't face certain pressures. They absolutely do, but they have
Right.
a much smaller gap to close because they're in the same energetic space inside
Mhm.
and outside. We as women have a much bigger gap to close. So it's that much more important that we discuss strategies for like how to hang up your masculine hat and move into your feminine space. There's this thing that I love to say, which is like getting a boner is really instant, right?
Mhm.
And female arousal takes a really long, like slow
Really long
time.
time.
It's the exact same thing with masculine and feminine energy. I can go from my feminine to my masculine like that,
Exactly.
right? I leave some sort of appointment and I'm walking through the parking lot. I'm instantly in my masculine, like on
Mhm.
guard, protecting myself, looking out for things, whatever. It takes me a long time to hang up my masculine energy and move into my feminine energy. The same way it takes me a long time to warm up in the bedroom. So, the same way that our bodies respond is the same way our energy responds, which is again why it's that much more important to learn not only like foreplay for your body, but also foreplay for your feminine energy, like learning how to support
Yeah.
that too.
I know for me, like the number one way to get me into my feminine energy is I I hate calling it a love language because I feel like that's so outdated at this point. And also like the pipeline of eldest daughter to acts of service being your love language is like
Yep.
that needs to
I
be
can
studied
relate
in a
with
lab
that.
somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like if you take something off my plate and not only take it off my plate,
Mhm.
but it's actually like done where I don't have to walk
Yeah,
behind you
to
like you're 3 years
completion.
old.
Yeah, that
And
mothering thing.
yeah, that's
Mhm.
that's that's where a lot of the disconnect is. Like
Yeah.
I read it's called Fair Play. by Eve Rodsky, and
Mhm.
let me tell you, I would read a chapter and make my ex-husband read a chapter, and read a chapter, and make my ex-husband read a chapter. It
Yeah.
clearly went over a head or 2, but it
Mhm.
was very much like, "Hey, this is how much women are." It's so great, you do the grocery shopping, but are you doing the
The
looking and
mental load
inventorying?
behind it.
That's
Yeah.
the thing. If you can take the mental load off, done. Signed, sealed, delivered, I'm all yours. Like,
Well, so
that's the
this
biggest
is
thing for
what's
me.
so interesting, right? Like, we need to help each other untangle the situation we're in.
Yes.
As a society, women have been told men are useless. So, and women have also been told, be a strong woman, be that, like the feminist movement has really kind of driven that home. So,
Yeah.
women have really stepped into this position of, I have the mental load here, 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 here. I'm going to do it all. You're leaving very little opportunity for him to step up and lead you. And then when he tries but doesn't succeed, it just reinforces like we're going to do it ourselves more the next time, right? And so we've
Yeah.
created this really negative cycle where we either don't give the men in our lives opportunities to lead us, or we try to give them those opportunities, but they're not accustomed to it anymore because we've taken it away from them. So then we're sort
Mhm.
of evaluating them on something that they haven't been conditioned to do. Like it's sort of an unfair advantage, if you will. And
Yeah.
so one of the biggest things that we can do is like, how do we start shifting that balance and those
Right.
expectations? Um,
At the
yeah.
same time, like, yeah, I 1000% agree. At the same time, I'm so tired of seeing weaponized incompetence.
Oh, totally. But there
Like,
is a
it's
there is a
ugh.
difference between like
Exactly.
there's a difference between weaponized incompetence and empowering your man to do something and like
Mhm.
giving him the chance. So this goes two ways, right? That's what this guy in Colorado who told me like Facebook made you masculine, blah, blah, blah. It goes two ways. It's not all on me. It's not all on you. It takes two to get into the situation.
Exactly.
So you need to start stepping up. One of my favorite um traits of masculine energy is follow through. You
Yeah, God.
say what you'll do and you do it. Like it's a turn on because we get it so rarely, right?
Literally that.
Follow through is one of the best things you can do to be masculine. So if
Mhm.
you say you're going to do something, do it. I would rather have you not say it and not do it than say
Yeah.
you'll do it and fail me. Because what does the feminine need? The feminine needs to trust that they can rely on the masculine. So if the masculine says they'll do something and they do it, the feminine learns, I can rely on him. I can trust him. I can be a little bit softer.
Yeah.
If he says he's going to do something and then doesn't, the feminine goes, well, he let me down. So now I'm going to move into a wounded space. I'm going to do it myself because I've been hurt. I've been betrayed. I've been, whatever.
Yep.
And
I've
if he
been
says he's
there.
going to do it and he follows through and he's masculine, then the feminine learns.
Oh, yeah.
So, right? Like men, if you want to start having more opportunity, biggest piece of advice I could give you, follow through on what you say you're going to do.
Yeah. Or like, there's this really cool thing called look around the house and see what needs to get done. If there are
Yeah.
dishes in the sink, do them. Do not ask me to make you a list of what needs to get done. Oh, I'll help. Just make me a list.
Yeah.
You know where
I'm not
that
your
pen
mother.
is going to go while I write that list? Like, it might go through an eyeball
I'm
because
not your
I'm done.
mother. I'm your lover, right? Like, if
Yes.
you want me to find you sexy, don't ask me to give you a list of things that you need to do around the house because that
Yeah.
would be treating you like my son, and I don't want to have sex with my son.
Yeah. That's like really creepy. So it's
Yeah.
just, and that's the thing. Like, you see the dishes need to get done. You see that the trash is almost full. Just fucking do the dishes and take it out.
Yeah.
I don't even care if the dishes aren't done right.
Yeah.
The dishes are done. I don't
Exactly.
have to think about it. I don't
Even
have
if
to
I
tell
have to
you to do the dishes.
even if I have to rewash them because there's still like grease on them or whatever, like at least you tried. At least there's effort. But again, if that's repeatedly the case, then it still comes back to weaponized incompetence.
Yeah.
But like it's sort of a hot take, but I sort of believe that even this is the result of the feminist movement. So that's another like big myth I would say.
No,
I
1000%.
actually feel like the feminist movement has hurt women in some ways, in many
Okay, this
ways.
is not a hot take. I mean, I completely agree. I feel like what is being shown as the feminist movement is
Yes,
actually like ruining what feminists, because
damaging.
I'm a feminist until the cows come home. Uh, I don't claim that.
Yeah.
Whatever
So
that is, and if you know, you know, whatever that is, I'm not claiming
yeah.
it.
Right. So I always say I'm an early stage feminist. I fully, fully, fully believe with my whole heart men and women should have access to the same opportunities, the
Mhm.
same choices, the same options. I do not believe with a single soul in my body what feminism has become in the last 30, 40 years, this like hyper independent, I got to do everything myself, like don't rely on a man because it's bad for you. I do not think we need to bring men down in order to lift women up. The second
Right.
we started doing that is where I think the feminism movement took a wrong turn. The beginning stages of it were all about lifting women up.
Yeah.
As soon as we started to tear men down in the process, that's where we misstepped.
Well, we're tearing other women down too in the process.
Oh,
Like, are
totally.
you seeing I don't know if you're seeing this, but, like, the amount of hate traditional stay-at-home wives are getting, like, on
Yeah.
TikTok and shit, like, "Oh, you're just spitting in the face of femininity."
Yeah.
Since
Because
when?
because the feminism movement has become about this is one of the topics that I love to talk about, equity versus equality.
Ooh.
Men and women need equity. We fought for equality, which is, I think, part of the problem.
Mhm.
So, what's the difference, right? Equality means we get the exact same thing. Equity means we get the same things given our differences. So,
Yeah.
basically, making up the gaps or the differences in order to reach the same thing at the end.
Mhm.
So, we need to be fighting for equity, not equality. Um, if women don't want to work, they don't have to.
Right.
The fact that they have the choice is what we were fighting for.
Yeah.
We were not fighting for women have to be the same as men. They have to go to work.
Yeah.
We were fighting for women to have the choice to. And all of
Mhm.
the shaming we're doing around trad wives, like you have to go to work. You have to, like, how dare you stay home and raise babies? Like there's so many interesting data trends to look at too. So if you think about it, we used to have women in the home, right? They were responsible for grocery shopping, for cooking, for cleaning, for raising the babies, while the men would go out and work.
Mhm.
Once things like World War II happened, the Vietnam War, the feminism movement, we kind of shifted away from that model.
Right.
We started seeing increases since then till now. We've seen increases of of the youth. Sorry, we've seen increases of the mental health issues in our youth, increasing rates of things like autism and anxiety and depression and separation anxiety. Well, there's a lot of data that when you put your kids in daycare, essentially to be raised by somebody else who doesn't care about your kid to the same degree that you do, and you're
Mhm.
leaving them when they're at that age really bonded and attached to you as their biology has, made them, it's increasing those things. We've seen increasing rates of things like diabetes and youth obesity. Well, we no longer have somebody as focused on grocery shopping, meal planning, cooking, nurturing, and nourishing our youth. We're sending our kids with packed lunches, and we have Entenmann's little muffins in there and all these other prepackaged things, deli meat,
Mhm.
which is full of all this stuff, because women have to race off to work. So we pack a really quick lunch to send off with our kids,
Yeah.
or sometimes not a lunch at all, and we let the school cafeteria, like, they can get whatever they feel like at the school cafeteria. Kids
Mhm.
should not be in charge of their own nutrition. They don't, it's far too
No.
complicated, right? So,
I'm in my 30s and I shouldn't be in charge of my own nutrition,
right?
okay?
If we could all have a personal chef, I mean,
Ugh,
life would just be great.
a
Uh,
dream.
but like, so we're seeing some of these trends, right? And it all can sort of be mapped to, well, like, there's no person dedicated to this stuff anymore. There was even a really interesting book I read about the rape crisis on college campuses. So
Ugh.
again, if you think about, like, we've been, this whole feminist movement has taken this turn of women are the same as men. We are the exact equal. Gender does not exist. Men and women are the same, right? Men bond differently to somebody after sex than women do. women release a lot more of a hormone called oxytocin, which is like the ooey
Hmm.
gooey hormone, right?
Yeah.
So once we have sex with someone, when we bond with someone, we feel really emotionally connected to them, something that men don't reciprocate.
Hmm.
Now, it's much more natural for a male to be able to have a one night stand and not feel that connection than it is for a woman. But because women have been conditioned that we are the same as men, in order to make ourselves be comfortable with one night stands, what do we end up doing? We end up drinking a lot. When we
Yeah.
end up drinking a lot, our decision making is impacted. So then we drink a lot to get okay with this, but it's really not okay with us. But the drinking makes it a little bit easier. But then sometimes you overdo it. Now you're drinking too much and you don't have as much control over your body or what ends up happening to your body. So, like, there's
Which
even
should never
connections.
happen. Like, that
Exactly.
should never happen to
Never.
anybody.
So there's connections even between the rape crisis on campus and the feminist movement. So there's so many different parallels that I could draw. And again, for all the listeners out there, because I know I'm triggering people, I'm not saying that all of it was a waste. The feminist movement was absolutely necessary at the beginning. And we still need to be fighting for some of those equal rights and opportunities,
1000%.
right? It's just how we've been interpreting it in the last 20, 30, 40, 50 years that we are the same, that men are all terrible and men suck. Like, that's the narrative we need to change. How are we supposed to empower our men to have healthy masculine energy when all over, the societal narrative is men suck?
The societal narrative too is like men aren't allowed to have feelings.
Mm-hmm.
It's not even just the feminist movement.
Mm-hmm.
It's men are not allowed to have feelings because you literally like walk it off, rub some dirt in it, brush it off, blah 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 blah. And then to kind of compound off of like the daycares and stuff, we also live in a society where it's almost impossible to not have two incomes. And honestly, you need a third or a fourth to stay
Mm-hmm.
alive,
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost like the society we live in has made it almost impossible on the flip side for women that want to be able to stay home I know I have so many friends that are like, I would love nothing more than to stay at home with my kids, and I can't,
Mm-hmm.
and then we only give them 6 weeks
Oh, don't
before
even get
they're
me
out. Like,
started
your
on.
hormones aren't even regulated, like,
Yeah.
not for nothing,
It
your
takes like
vagina's
6 months.
yeah, your vagina's not even back to normal, and you're like, oh, go
Yeah.
back to work, like,
Yep.
your kids are gonna be fine. Like,
Yep.
it's so fucked up how all of it compounds into not, and somehow we've worked our way into not having a choice again.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I think there's a couple of things there, right? Like, first of all, what you said, men are not allowed to have emotions. This one perplexes me too, because we basically, part of toxic masculinity culture is that men don't have femininity. Men are only masculine. They don't have femininity, which is
Mhm.
why they don't feel emotion, right? Because the feminine is the emotional one. And then we get frustrated when, we're trying to have a conversation with our partner and they can't express themselves. So
They were
it's
never
like
taught how.
they were never taught how, right? So I'm hoping one day to start up a men's group where we can also do that too. But I think even a lot of women are disconnected from their emotions.
1,000%.
Then what you said about like it takes two incomes, sometimes three, four to make things happen. Like, I so blame the feminist movement and capitalism for that, right?
Yeah.
Like, they made us believe women have to go out and work, that staying at home is just terrible. When like you, most of the women that I know would prefer to stay home. But we've all been fed this lie that like it's terrible to stay home. It's terrible to depend on a man. You should absolutely go out and be independent, do all these things. And there was actually a really interesting study which basically said, like, if you added up the costs of what you're paying to eat out because you don't cook as much, if you
Mhm.
added up the cost of the daycare that you send your kid to, if you added up the cost of, sometimes you have to hire an Uber to take your kid from one place to another because you're not available to drive them. Like, if you
Mhm.
added up these costs of basically what you're outsourcing because you're working and you're not available to do
It
those
winds up
things,
being
it
more.
more or less lines up equal. So that's
Mhm.
almost another myth that I would debunk. Like, yes, it's sometimes true, but if you adjust your lifestyle, I think it is still very doable to live off of one salary. Now, that does require, I'm not going to say the man, it requires at least one person in the
Mhm.
relationship to be earning a strong income, which sort of comes back to like not being lazy, not being, incompetent and weaponizing that. It comes back to masculine energy, which is very driven, very goal oriented, very, accomplishment oriented. So if whether it's the man or the woman, you have one person in a relationship who has a lot of healthy masculine energy coming from a very divine, authentic, real place, they'll earn enough in order to be able to provide. And the feminine is then going to take that and mirror it, multiply it, invest that effort into her family and create healthy offspring with a healthy, lifestyle and balance at home. There's all these people who are going to say, "Oh, but it's so, dangerous to depend on one person for income because what if you get divorced, or what if they take everything, or what if something happens to them?" And like, yeah, that's where basic financial planning comes in. Like, there are ways to go around that. There are prenups for one, but like personal financial planning, you plan nest eggs, you plan emergency funds. Like, you obviously don't just like blindly depend on one person's salary and then that's it.
Yeah, I
Oh,
think
sorry. This
that
stuff fires me up. I could talk
no,
about it.
you're
I could
totally
rant
fine.
for forever.
I think to also clarify, like, there's a difference between depending on somebody financially in a healthy way and like an abusive
100%.
relationship. And I think we need to
100%.
clarify that just so that people, because there's going to be one or two people that
Yeah.
are going to be like, well, what if it's a financially abusive situation, an actual abusive? We're not talking about that.
Right. We're talking
Like,
about when it's mutually consensual, when
yes.
it's healthy, like totally.
Yeah. Because like I came from that background
So did
of,
I. I was the one that was financially abused. Yeah.
well, and no, like I grew up in that kind of environment. Like
Mm-hmm.
my parents are very different people now, but my mom was the stay at home and my dad was the breadwinner, and it was not pretty. That divorce, historical in a way. It was
Yeah.
not cute. It was very
I'm
toxic.
sorry
There
to hear
was
that.
that's why I'm like, I need to clarify, because like we
Yeah.
are not
But
talking about situations like that, because
totally. And like, what's
it's
the biggest
completely
difference
different.
there, right? Like, if the man comes home and says, "I earned all this money, so it's my money," that's where it's toxic. That's where it's manipulative.
Exactly.
Versus if the man said, "I earned all of this money to give us this life. I earned all this money to provide this for you so that you can then take this and invest it here." Like, it needs to be strategic, very much so
Mhm.
strategic. And something you talk about. Like, it's not just I in my parents' relationship, both of my parents worked full time. The difference is that I don't even think my mom knew the passwords to the bank accounts. So, they all of their both of their incomes went into a combined account. My dad was always the one that would be spending something. My mom very blindly just like let my dad do that.
That's how it was in my marriage. Like I had access to the bank accounts. I
You
I
just
didn't
never
look at him.
looked. Yeah,
Because I
and
trusted him. I knew he wasn't going to fuck me over. He still isn't fucking me over.
well,
You know
it's
what I
good that
mean?
he didn't, but like my dad definitely he didn't mean to, but he did fuck over my mom like with bipolar and being manic, he overspent and he rang up a
Mhm.
lot of debt. So it's not that he necessarily did it to her, but he compromised the two of them.
Mhm.
And so, again, what's the difference between a 1950s housewife that we all wanted to move away from and this situation is like, well, education is the difference, right? Back then, women were not given the access, the opportunity, nor the education, which is why people like my mom was never involved in her personal finances because she was never
Mhm.
taught to be from that generation.
Yeah.
This generation, be involved in your finances, have that education, even if you're not
Yes.
earning, talk with your partner about the two of your incomes,
Yeah.
so
If you don't want to look at it, that's fine, but at least have like an idea of what the hell's going on.
right. Don't be a bystander, which
Yeah.
is basically what was happening back then. And so again, for all those people who I'm triggering, I'm totally in favor of learn how to do it, even if you choose not to be involved. The knowledge is power. And that's what this whole group that I do is about, is all about knowledge. Learn about your emotions, learn about your nutrition, learn about how to raise kids that are resilient, learn how to communicate with your partner. All of these things are things we're never explicitly taught that
No.
are critical to know.
No.
And
And
then you do
like,
with it what you want.
yeah. And I think the communication thing is like huge. I think we've all been taught that like, oh, when men shut down, like you just got to leave them alone and let them, and don't
No.
pester them and this, that, and the third. And like, yeah, don't like annoy the fuck out of them. But at the same time, men don't get to just shut down and isolate and shut themselves off from their family or their partner while they're going through something and then come back and be like, okay, well, I'm good now. Like, no, learn how to talk it out. Even if you
Well,
don't know how to
also,
talk it out, just start doing this.
totally, even in my experience, like, this is where mastering masculinity and femininity comes in.
Mhm.
Because with my ex, for example, I was not in a feminine place.
Nope. Same.
I did not provide the sense of safety for him to open up and talk with me. Now, as a man, nothing
Mhm.
to do with masculine energy, as a man, he is culturally, societally conditioned to not talk about emotions. So he's
Yeah.
already at a deficit compared to me. He doesn't learn how to recognize his emotions. He doesn't know how to label them. He doesn't know how to communicate them. But then you add on top of it that when we would fight, for example, he'd like get up and walk away. And I'd literally follow him and be like, I'm not done talking to you. Like, I want an answer. Right. Because I
Same.
was in a masculine place. So I was not creating a feminine, safe container for him to even try to open up to me, given his deficit there.
Yeah.
Now, when I'm in a fight with with my partner, or even just a difficult conversation that's not a fight, mastering my feminine energy, learning how to allow pause and to keep my voice calm and to maintain physical touch while trying to talk and
Mhm.
not being judgmental and not being demanding, just being open and receptive to things. It's amazing how my partner is so much more able and willing to try to talk about his things because his masculinity is responding to my femininity
Yeah.
and vice versa, right? So that's where that like really comes in, is basically we have these gender gaps where we've been culturally conditioned. We as women are culturally conditioned to talk about our
Mhm.
emotions, and men are not. Like, masculinity and femininity is almost how you bridge the gap with what we've been conditioned to be versus what we are destined to be. I don't know if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
So, in your opinion, if somebody is trying to tap into their feminine energy more, they want to like talk to their partner about kind of starting over and not being his piece in like I remember uh I graduated high school and I was homeschooled, so we had like a homeschool
Mm.
graduation.
Oh,
And what
I have so many questions about that. We'll have to say that for
bruh,
another episode.
bruh. I literally remember because they would like have you walk across, and I swear to God, I'll get to the actual question in a second. We were walking across, and the amount of girls that I saw walking across that what they were doing post high school was basically like attaining to be the Proverbs 31 or 36 wife. And I was like, what? And I
Yeah.
think that actually like made me go, absolutely the fuck not. I want to be the opposite of that. So
Mhm.
I've always been a go-getter. So like, I think a lot of, we'll just say religious trauma tends to kind of fuel that as well, because we were always taught like, and I'm not saying my parents taught me to be this way. My parents taught me to literally be a strong, independent woman that does not need a man. You know,
They
that
taught you the feminist way of thinking. Yeah.
right. Like, which is great because I'm doing just fine on my own. Like, would I like to be babied every now and then? Absolutely. Like, who doesn't? But it was like we were taught, like, just in the denomination that we were in, was like it was like a step below the IBLP or whatever. So you were, you never raised your voice. You were always, demure and cutesy, and you need to be
Mhm.
his piece and let him unload on you, but don't bug him with your issues and that kind of thing. And I think the point that my ADHD is desperately trying to get to is how does one tap into their feminine energy without going into that toxic level or toxic like area of thinking, especially like, because that's just, say, culturally and religiously, like that's the way women were quote supposed to be.
Yeah. I mean, I think where you start with all of that is learning to disentangle. Like, there's three things I can think of off the top of my head: cultural, societal expectations of what it means to be a woman,
Mm-hmm.
the female biology and neuroscience, how a female brain and body is designed to think, feel, communicate compared to a man's, and then feminine energy. Because those are three things that we often conflate with each other, yet those are three very distinct things. So,
Mm-hmm.
what you said about allow him to unload on you, but you never say anything, you're prim and you're proper, you have good posture, you speak soft, you blah, blah, blah. Those are all sorry, see, even I mix myself up even when talking about it. Those are all female expectations that we are
Mm,
expected to live up to. None of those things have anything to do with feminine energy, like not a single one of the ones that you mentioned. So I think learning to disentangle those two things and
mhm.
learning what feminine energy really is. Um, you know, I think one of the best, there's so many examples we could go into. I think one of the best people who demonstrates feminine energy and just how powerful it can be is Princess Diana.
Oof.
So I mean, she obviously had like a lot of her own personal struggles and issues too,
Mhm,
but the entire world fell in love with her. Even
mhm.
though she died before I think I was even born, we still know about her in our generation, right? Like she
Yep.
took the world by storm on a like permanently, even
Mhm,
outliving her. And it's because she was so feminine in a place that was so masculine. The whole rest of the monarchy, really cold, really quiet, really buttoned up, really masculine.
mhm,
She brought this warmth and this nurturing and this loving and this care that just radiated throughout the world. And that goes to show you how powerful feminine energy can be. That's why I said, like, it's the biggest myth that feminine energy is weaker. Neither is weaker, neither is good nor bad. Both
Thank
are
you for saying that.
important, right? Like, both
Yes.
are important. And she just goes to show how powerful it can be when done right. There are other examples of it too. I think Julia Child was a great example of it. Now, she is a good comparison because, I mean, Diana worked a lot too, but Julia Child was a huge career woman. So
Yes.
here we are, like, again, being feminine does not mean that you can't have a career.
Right.
That's a female expectation or like stereotype that you don't have
Mhm,
a career, that you're a homemaker, not feminine. Julia Child had this exceptional career, but was extremely feminine. She got on all these shows. She made her way into everybody's home because of her charisma, her way of acting, her way of being. Um, she saw food and serving people food as a way of showing her love and her care for them. So she was very nurturing through her food, and it just happened to be something that she monetized. Her
mhm.
husband, I think his name was Paul, was extremely masculine and supportive of her in that role. The toxic masculine would have been like, I'm getting upstaged by my wife. How dare she? But
Right.
he was very divine masculine. He helped with a lot of her bookings. He helped with a lot of her finances. He would hold up prompt cards and cue cards for her. So, very supportive as a very healthy masculine partner. And it allowed her career to be what it was. She had, side note, one saying, I watched her documentary and I absolutely loved this. She said, to keep men happy, you just need the three F's. You got to fuck them, feed them, and flatter them. And I was like, it's so true.
It really is that simple.
It really is that simple. Fuck them, feed them, and flatter them. I love
It's
that.
not
So,
it's not that simple for, men to women, but it's
no.
literally that simple for
Yeah.
men. You
And,
gotta well, I
you
mean,
know,
and it's
I
kinda simple with men. Take the trash out and plan a date or 2, and you'd be surprised at how much we wanna suck your dick.
follow through on what you
Like,
say you're going to do and do things, and you would be amazed at how far it gets you.
yeah,
So,
gets you pretty
yeah,
fucking far.
like, right. And that, I think that's sort of my point is like, we've been so fed this lie that like women are so complicated, that their sex is so complicated, their arousal is so complicated, that they're so emotional and unpredictable. Like, no, that's all not true,
Right.
especially if we as women and our partners as men understand like our menstrual cycle and sort of how some of our tendencies shift throughout the month. Like, it's really not true. Our arousal, our sexuality is not that complicated once
No.
you understand a few core things. Don't try to get us in bed if, like you said, the dishes and the house and the kids and the dog and all of these things need doing of some
Yeah.
kind. Like,
No.
our brains are much more designed to be broad scoping, whereas a
Mhm.
male brain is much more designed to be tunnel visioned into something. So it's much easier for a male to kind of forget about a lot of these other things or not
Yeah.
be as bothered by them the female brain, there's a part of our brain called the amygdala, and it's like your fear, your anxiety
Yep.
center. Women have a harder time turning off their amygdala, and you have to turn off your amygdala in order to get into sex.
Yeah.
You can't have sex if you're, fearful and anxious, right?
Mm-mm.
And women, because our brains are designed to see so much more and to think so much more and to be more multitasking than a male's brain, we have a harder time turning off that center. And like
Mm-hmm.
I even like to tell my clients, like, bake this into your foreplay. Like, if you know and your partner knows that dirty dishes in the sink are a brake pedal on, your turn on,
Mm.
bake that into your foreplay. Have your partner be like, I'm going to do the dishes. I want you to sit right there and watch me do them. And then I want you to watch what I do to you.
Honestly, though, like,
Right?
literally
Or,
that. Here's a glass of wine. You go sit on the couch and look cute. I got the dishes. I'll clean the kitchen.
mhm,
I'll see you later. It's like, my
exactly.
clothes are already off. Like, let's go. Like,
Exactly. Exactly.
fuck it. If you do the
Or
dishes after, like, let's go.
or strip tease while you clean the kitchen. Your
Yeah,
shirt comes
literally.
off, you wash one plate. Your pants unbuckle, you wash another
Literally.
plate, right? Like, there are funny yet
Yeah.
real ways to address some of these things in the process without making it this, like, well, you didn't clean the dishes, and, well, I didn't know I needed to. Well, what do I need to do? Like, all of that is the mother version of all of
Mm-hmm.
this, not the lover version. So there are some really simple ways of fixing all of this. We just don't talk about them,
Well,
which
and like,
frustrates me.
yeah, the other thing we don't talk about too is like sex can be funny. You can laugh through it. Like, if
Oh, it
you
should
think
be.
you're,
The best
if you,
sex is when you laugh during
yeah,
it.
because you know what? It is going to look fucking ridiculous if they're trying to do strip tease, load the dishwasher. But at the same time, like, it's just something fun. And it's like, remember that last time you like basically tried to play strip poker, but with the dinner dishes? Like,
Yeah.
it's funny. And then,
Yeah.
the sexy time
And you
happens. But
and you bond through that laughter,
yes.
right? So, like, when you laugh, it releases oxytocin, that ooey gooey bonding hormone,
Mm-hmm.
through laughter, through socialization, whether it's with a partner, a friend, anybody. Socialization, positive socialization, releases oxytocin. And as we said earlier, women make more oxytocin naturally. It plays a bigger role in our arousal, our bonding, our sexual response, our attachment, all of that. Get our oxytocin flowing. Lay my head in your lap while we watch a movie and brush my hair, because grooming me is going, I
Yep.
know that sounds so stupid, but like, grooming me, brushing my hair is
Yeah.
going to release my oxytocin. It's going to relax me. When I'm relaxed, I'm more likely to get aroused. Like, there's so many ways that you can tap into this if only you knew that's how the brain works. So that's why I said you have to disentangle female expectations, culturally and societally conditioned on us and historically influenced and shaped, all of that,
Yeah.
from how the female or male brain or body actually works, from what feminine and masculine energy is at its core.
Yeah. And to add to that, like, it's not even just doing the dishes. Like, I know we keep harping on the damn dishes.
That's just one
but
example of
yeah, it's just one
thousands.
example. But like,
Yeah.
if you're a guy and you're listening to this and you've noticed that like you 9 times out of 10 get laid after a date, why is that? Because your girl gets to dress up, she gets to look hot, she gets to feel hot. You get a little dressed up. She remembers why the hell she's dating you or married to you or whatever. You get to go out, you get to spend time together. She doesn't have to cook, she doesn't have to clean, she doesn't have to like think about all that shit. And there's a couple glasses of wine and feeling a little, I mean, I feel a little frisky after a couple glasses of wine, especially like if I'm looking at somebody that has cleaned themselves up and you're just like, hey, like,
So
and then you go home and ta-da.
totally true, but you left out all of the parts about masculine and feminine energy, right? Like, if we do all of that,
Mm-hmm.
but we're out on this date and my partner's on his phone, he's asking me where I want to go,
Yeah.
he's not paying the bill, like, all of
True.
that could still be ruined without proper masculine and feminine energy. But if you choose, like, there's very few things that are sexier than, I want you to wear that red dress that I love. Be ready at 7. I'm picking you up and I'm taking you out.
Fucking done.
Done, right? Like,
Absolutely.
that's
Signed,
all
sealed,
it
delivered.
takes. That's
Yep.
all it takes. But that
Mhm.
requires healthy masculine energy and healthy feminine energy. If the
Mhm.
feminine energy, or the feminine one, responds by saying, well, where are you taking me? Well, I don't want to wear that red dress. Well, what are we doing? Like, that would not be feminine energy. That's not going to condition him to do
Right.
this again the next time. Versus if she said, ooh, should I wear anything under that dress? What else should I wear?
Exactly.
Where I'm so excited to see where we're going. Thank you so much for planning something. You know how much I love going out with you,
Yeah,
right?
see,
Like
that's
let's leave our phones at home so that we can really reconnect, right? Like
yeah,
if you respond in a feminine way, he's so much more likely to do this again the next time. That's why I
yeah,
said at the beginning, everything is like a cycle that can either become a very positive one or a very negative one. And how you respond determines what direction that goes in. So it's not just like watched a TikTok of some really famous influencers a long time ago. And what they're famous for is like they get ready on camera together.
mhm,
So they're getting ready for a date night. He's showing, his clothes, his shoes, his watch, his perfume, whatever. She's doing the same thing. You can see at the start of this video that they're both in their very divine energy, like they're really excited about their date, whatever. And it's only like a 30-second clip, a minute long clip. Like that just goes
mhm,
to show how fast things can change if you're not careful.
mhm.
As you saw the video go on, you saw her lose her spark. Like you saw all desire in her to go on this date fade. And if you analyze why, it's like because he's so much more obsessed with the camera than he is with her. Like she's
Mm,
getting ready. And instead of saying, "Ooh, that looks hot on you. That looks great on you," he's instead, "Here's
yeah,
my next thing. Here's my next thing," to the camera.
yeah,
Right.
that'll kill it for me.
Right. And he like flung a sock at her, even though it was playful. He was trying to be playful. He like flung something at
Too
her and
little,
she
too
was
late,
like,
dude.
"Why'd you fling that at me? Like, that wasn't nice." And
Mhm.
like, there were just all these little mini, tiny, tiny, tiny things that happened. And a minute later, she was like, she even said in the clip, she's like, "I don't want to go out anymore. I don't like how you made me feel." So it goes to show how quick things can change if you're not careful. But the beautiful thing about that is it can also change in the other direction if you are careful. So
Right,
like it goes both ways, right? It's extremely sensitive. Um and so there it's what we were saying at the beginning. It's everywhere, all around us. It absolutely surrounds us, this stuff, but we don't talk about it. We don't realize how important it is, how powerful it is, how present it is, how to recognize it. And we're all sort of living in this like hyper masculine, hyper feminist world. And no
yeah,
wonder everyone's fucking burned out.
so burnout.
Everyone's struggling with dating. Everyone's burned out. We're seeing more fertility issues than we ever saw before. Like,
Mhm,
no wonder. No wonder people are getting married later or choosing not to marry as much. Birth rates are declining. Like, these things are not happening out of the blue. There
right,
are reasons why.
yeah. Well, where can we find you to get
Woo,
involved?
lots of
Because
stuff.
I could honestly talk about this for hours,
Ever. Well, that's
ever.
why I have the group, because there's no way we could cover everything in 1 hour.
No,
And
not at
so
all.
that's why we meet repeatedly to talk about this stuff. Because I will say, even though I've been learning this stuff I've been intensively studying this stuff for like the last 3-4 years, and I've been
Mhm.
teaching it for like the last year. I still have so much to learn and to unlearn every day. I'm
Unlearning is the
still
hardest.
That's the hardest thing, because I'm 31 now. For 27, 28 years of my life, I was told to be one way. And it's
Mhm.
only in the last 3-4 years that I'm trying to be a different way. Purely a result of time. Like I have a while to go. For the rest of my life, I am going to be practicing. I will never
Mhm.
master this completely, because it's very hard to deprogram yourself from societal shit that's been programmed into you at a very
Yeah.
young age. So I will say, like, this shit is not easy. It is
Nope.
not fast, but it is important. It does take time, but the effort you put into it will come back to you tenfold in the quality of your relationships, your burnout, how you feel about yourself, how you connect with other people, your friendships. Like everything gets better when you start working on some of this stuff. Um,
Yeah.
Anyway, so how you can find me, my brand name is The Intimate Instinct. All of my socials, my website, all follow that. So it's www.theintimateinstinct.com. On Instagram, I'm at The Intimate Instinct. Admittedly, I post next to nothing because I hate social media. I just find it a very toxic place. So I'm on there, but I have very little on there. So if you want to find me, the better way to do it, come to the group, come set up a free consultation with me, come talk with me, come email me, come to the website. Those are better places to find me. But
Yeah. Well, Danielle, thank you so, so much for coming on and talking about this. I think this is a topic that we need to be talking about more.
Thank you for having me. I
I think we're
appreciate it.
swinging in that direction,
Oh,
but we still
totally.
got a long way to go.
I absolutely agree with you. Like, I think we were like, if we're a pendulum, right? Like, we
Mhm.
were all the way over here, and with like the feminist movement getting really extreme.
Mhm.
I think we swung, sort of all the way this way. Or sorry, no, we were all the way over here when we had like before feminism,
Right.
right?
Now we're
Before
swung the
feminism
other.
movement, then the feminist movement happened, and we swung all the way this way. And I think we are
We're working on it.
slowly working our way towards the middle, but there's a while to go.
Yeah. Probably
There's a
won't happen
while.
in our lifetime, but maybe the next one.
It will if we work on it.
True.
It will
True.
if we decide to. And so that's where I empower you. Like, decide to work on it. Make the decision to bring it into your lives, and then talk about it with the people in your lives. That's the best way to see change. Talk about it with the people that you're around and make it happen.
Well, Danielle, thank you so much again.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Hopefully I didn't word vomit too much.
We love a good word vomit here. What are you talking
Okay.
about?
Bye, everyone.